Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Strife, a play by John Galsworthy. This is a three-act play, and in the beginning of the play, we come to know that in a factory, there is a strike going on for several months. The trade union and the company directors attempt to solve the problem. But this strike is causing a lot of hardship among the workers' families. In fact, many of them are suffering due to hunger. And then we find that the action is taking place on 7th February and the place is Trinatha Tin Plate Works, which is on the borders of England and Wales. In the first act, we find the directors are holding a board meeting. Simon Harness, who is the representative of the trade union, says that they have withdrawn the support for the strike from the workers, and he says that many of the workers are suffering and they are willing to withdraw their excessive demands. But he says that the directors also should agree to the union demands, which he feels is really necessary for the welfare of the workers. David Roberts is the leader of the men's committee among the workers. He tells the workers that he wants the strike to continue until all their demands are met. He knows very well that the men are starving, but he is very sure that the company board members will give in to their demands, so he asks them to hold the strike for some more time. Actually, it is a confrontation between the elderly company chairman John Anthony and Roberts, because both of them do not want to give away. Both of them are stubborn in their standards, and therefore the strike is not able to come to an end. Now, after this meeting, Enid Underwood, who is the daughter of John Anthony and wife of the manager, talks to her father. She knows very well about the suffering of the families, and actually Robert's wife Annie used to be her maid. And at the same time, Enid is worried about the strain her father is undergoing because of the strike and the problems he is facing with the other members of the board. Henry Trench, who is the company secretary, tells Anthony that all the directors are planning to outvote Anthony in the board meeting. And this also causes a strain on Anthony. In Act 2, Scene 1, we find Enid coming and visiting Robert's cottage, and she talks to Annie Roberts, who is suffering from heart problem. At that time, David Robert comes in and Enid tells him that there must be a compromise, and she says, at least have pity on your wife's condition because she is suffering. And she also says that she will send some food for her because she is very sick. But Robert refuses all this, and he says that he will not change his position, and he is also unmoved by his wife's concern. And he also thinks about all the families. He says this suffering is going on in all the families, and for this suffering, and what he feels is all the demands are definitely necessary for the workers' welfare. Therefore, he says he will not give up. Enid leaves disappointed. In Act 2, Scene 2, we find that in an open space near the factory, on a platform, Harness, in a speech to the strikers, says that all these workers are ill-advised. And he says that all the demands are not only for their welfare. He says that they will have to cut down their demands. And if they cut down the demands, he says that he will definitely ask the directors to approve the other demands. And this will save them from starving. And he says that they should support the union, and he says that the union will also support the workers. As this is going on, we find that there are short speeches from the two men, which allows us to understand the mindset of the workers, because both the men have contrast opinions. At that time, Robert comes there and he speaks to the people. He gives a long speech, and he says that this fight is not only against the board of directors here, but it is a fight against the capital. And particularly, he says, a white-faced, stony-hearted monster whom he refers as Anthony without telling the name. And he says, you have got it on its knees. Are you to give up at the last minute to save your miserable body's pain? So he says, I know all of you are suffering, but now we are on the time when all the board members are about to give in to all our demands. and in this time, if you are going to withdraw your demands, you will lose everything. And since he is a very strong speaker, the workers are moved by his speech. At that time, a news arrives that his wife is dead, so Robert leaves. When all the workers hear about Robert's wife's death, they understand that this is an example of the tragedy which they have to accept if they continue the strike. So all the men decide to accept to the terms of the union, and they are willing for the compromise. In Act 3, we find at the home of the manager, Enid talks with Edgar Anthony. Edgar Anthony is the chairman's son and one of the directors. Now Enid is very less sympathetic towards the workers, and she is only concerned about their father. And she asks Edward to support him. But Edgar is very sympathetic towards the workers because he knows that they are suffering. At that time, they receive the news that Mrs. Roberts has died. At the directors' meeting, we find that the directors are already in a bad tempered mood, and the news of Robert's wife Annie's death affects them further. And Edgar says that he would rather resign than go on with all these women starving to death. And the other directors react badly to an opinion put so frankly, and they understand that that is the truth, and they are making their workers to starve. At this time, John Anthony makes a long speech insisting that they should not give it to the men. He says that the only way to treat these working people is with the iron hand. And he says this half and half business should not be accepted, because this is something which they themselves brought among themselves. It is the workers who brought all this problem, and so they have to face it. And he warns the director, saying that if you yield to one demand, then they will make it as 6 demands, so don't give in. And then he puts to the board the motion that the dispute should be placed in the hands of Harness. Now all the directors are in favor of the union, and Anthony finds that he is outvoted by his colleagues. So very tiredly, with an acknowledgement of his defeat, he resigns. Now the men's committee, including Roberts and Harness, come in to receive the results. Robert repeats his resistance, but on being told the outcome, realizes that he and Anthony have been thrown over. The agreement is what had been proposed before the strike began, but it had needed months of suffering to bring agreement in the dispute. So, the same demands which were accepted by the directors before the strike began has been accepted now. But all these months of starving and the suffering by the workers had undergone without any extra demands being accepted by the directors. Now the two leaders stare at each other. Both are deserted by their supporters, and both are defeated by the compromise made between the directors and the workers. And they recognize the courageous battle which each had put up. The expression of hate turns to one of grudging admiration and mutual respect, and the play ends here. It's one of the most successful plays of John Galsworthy. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you're not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. Thank you.